Hello and welcome back to Just Meg Elise, a podcast about healing, remembering who you are, and diving into deeper alignment. I'm Meg, and each week I'll be sharing the soul work, the self-reflections, and the healing tools that have helped me in the hopes that they help you too. During today's episode, I wanted to talk about our triggers and how even if we're healing or on a healing journey, it doesn't mean that we're not still going to be triggered. There seems to be this idea that when we heal, we're never going to get triggered again. And that's just not the case. It's just not how it works, and that's okay. We're human. We have triggers. We have past wounds that are going to keep resurfacing. And I hate even using the word healed because it implies that we're done. We have no more work to do. We are healed. And I just don't think that's the case. I think that even on a healing journey, even if we have done a ton of healing work, we're still going to have moments where the past creeps back in, where we're triggered by something that maybe happened in our past and it's coming back into our present moment. That doesn't mean we're not healing. That doesn't mean we're not on a healing journey. It means we're human. So when we're triggered, it's really a younger, often wounded part of ourself that's getting activated. A trigger is sometimes almost like a flashlight on our shadow as well, illuminating the emotions or beliefs that we've buried or denied or even feel ashamed of. It's not always about like what someone said or someone did. It's about what it's activating inside of us. Here's the thing about our triggers. It always points back to something going on within us, not necessarily the other person. I just used this as an example the other day, but let's say you're in a parking lot and you hear somebody raising their voice, not yelling, just raising their voice, and it's triggering to you. But then the friend next to you isn't triggered at all. It might be triggering to you because something in your past, maybe you had a parent or a sibling or, grandparent, whatever it was, who yelled a lot and it was very triggering and very invalidating. And so when you hear somebody else raising their voice or seeming like they're yelling in public, it can be very triggering. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you wrong for having that trigger. None of those things. But what I'm saying is, if you're triggered by something and somebody else isn't, that points to the fact that it's something in you that might need to be worked through. It doesn't make it bad. It's a signpost. It's saying, hey, this is still something inside me that's bothering me, that's triggering me when I see it happening in the real world. And maybe we need to look at that. Maybe we need to examine that. Maybe we need to bring a little bit more love and compassion to that part of myself. And sometimes psychologically, our bodies are reacting the same way when that thing first happened. If we hear somebody yelling in public, our bodies might be reacting the same way that it first reacted when we were yelled at as a child, or whatever it is that you're bebeing triggered by. And a lot of times it doesn't even come back as a memory. It just comes back as a feeling. You get nervous, you get panicky, the heart starts to race, you're breathing very shallow. It doesn't always come back as this vivid memory like, oh, I'm getting triggered because of that. No, that often doesn't happen. We often don't know why we're triggered. It's just something inside of us that's being brought forth that we might not be consciously aware of. And again, it's not that you're broken. All of us have triggers over different things, and all of our triggers are going to be different. It's just your inner child or an unhealed version of you rising up and saying, hey, I'm still here. Please don't forget about me. I'm still hurting. Can we work on this? That's all the trigger is. So number one, healing doesn't mean emotional invincibility, like we become emotional Wonder Women. I think that healing allows us to have a new lens of which to look through our triggers and to start examining our triggers instead of just allowing our triggers to happen and not examining that. And I also think there's much more awareness around our triggers or awareness around everything once we're healing. There's also a quicker recovery time. There's a quicker bounce back. I'm able to talk myself out of those triggers sometimes. And I'll give you an example and explain what I mean. There's also a lot more compassion, not only for ourselves, but for others. There's also fewer spirals. There's less times that we're triggered, or when we're triggered, it doesn't last as often, or it's not as deeply impacting. So I want to share an example of recently when I was triggered and how I kind of worked through it. So a close friendship of mine, somebody who I consider like a sister, has started to unravel a little bit. And it was no big blow up, no name calling, just silence and repeated canceled plans, less and less communication, and eventually I've gotten no response at all. I tried to tell myself she's grieving, she's overwhelmed, you know how hard life can get, and all of those things are true, but at the same time, it started to bring up feelings of abandonment within me, and it's still bringing up feelings of abandonment. And I've been working so hard not to fall back into the person who like chases down love and tries to over-explain herself and come back, I'm worthy of being loved. You know, the things that we sometimes do when we're chasing after another person who seems to be pulling away from us. And I've been trying so hard to not fall back into that. And I found myself writing messages and hoping to be seen again and hoping for repair and hoping that if I just said the exact right thing, she'll come back. And that's not fair to myself. It's like I'm placing this unfair pressure on myself to fix the situation when really I don't think I've done anything wrong. I don't want to go into too much detail about why I think the friendship is falling apart, but because she's not communicating with me. So I don't know what's wrong. I don't really know what's happening. And when I've tried to explain my side of things, she gets very defensive. And so that's hard too. When I try and explain, well, this hurt my feelings, she gets defensive. But one of the things that I feel like might be making our friendship fall apart is I can be very candid. I'm a very candid, truthful person. And I always try and say truthful things with tact and with kindness and compassion. But when she comes to me saying things like, you know, I think my husband is emotionally abusive, or he's yelling at me, he's slamming doors and doing all of these things, I'm there for her every time that happens. I'm so sorry that's happening to you. But at the same time, I'm not the type of friend that if you're in what seems like a bad situation, whether that's a bad relationship or just in a situation where you're participating in bad habits such as drugs or whatever it is, I'm not going to be that person who just coddles you through that. I will definitely be there for you and ask what I can do to help you and do everything in my power to help you. But I'm also going to ask you questions to try and uncover or unpack what you might not be seeing, because I think that's what a good friend does. For example, that she told me one time that she doesn't feel comfortable keeping a journal because she's so afraid that her husband's going to read it. And I'm trying to encourage, well, there are different ways to do it. You know, you can write yourself an email. You can create an email address that he doesn't know about and just write yourself emails journaling that way, or create a Word document that has a password on it or something. But I just think that journaling is such a healing tool. She agrees because she used to journal when she was little, but she doesn't feel safe to do it now. And so I asked her, like, hun, what does that say about your relationship that you don't feel safe enough to journal, that you think he's going to read it? What does that say? And I could tell in that moment she started to pull away from me. Ever since then, things have been weird, and the communication has gotten less and less. So I do think, this is hard for me to talk about, but I think that sometimes when people aren't ready to hear the truth or aren't ready to make a change, especially a big life change like that, like leaving your partner or stopping a bad habit or whatever it is, I think that when somebody is pointing out, hey, maybe you need to look at this, maybe there's some changes that need to be made here. Some people are too afraid to make those changes, so instead of making those changes, they instead push away the person who's pointing out that they should maybe make a change. You know what I mean? And so I think that may be what's happening, and that's hard. Because I obviously want to be there with her, and I've told her, like, whatever you decide, I'm going to be there. Whatever you decide, if you decide to stay with him and try and go to therapy, whatever you do, I will be here for you. I've absolutely told her that. But I don't know. It's very, very hard. And all of this, you know, especially the non-communication with me, I've reached out to her 3 times over the past 3 months and I've gotten silence. And it's hard because I'm like, are you just ghosting me, or are we completely not friends anymore? What's happening? Like, please communicate with me. What have I done? And I'm the type of person who tells my friends and my family, like, if I'm doing something that upsets you or bothers you, please tell me, because I will try and work on that. If it's something I need to work on, I will do that. But I don't know if anything's wrong or what I'm doing wrong if it's not expressed to me. So when I haven't gotten a response the last 2 months, my brain starts to spiral a little bit. It starts to tell me I'm at fault, I'm too much, I'm too emotional, I'm too needy, whatever it is. And when I say that to myself, I then have to remind myself my needs are not too much. I'm not too needy. I'm not too attention-seeking. My grief in all of this is valid. And her silence, while painful, is not proof that I'm unworthy in some way or unlovable. It's just a limitation on her end to not be able to communicate fully with me. I didn't bypass what's going on. I didn't bury it down deep. I've been crying. I've been journaling about this for months. I've wrote letters that I'm probably never going to send. I've done breath work. I've sat in meditation over this. But it is still a deep ache that I'm carrying, not truly knowing what went wrong. So once again, it's just a lesson that just because I'm healing or on a healing journey, it doesn't mean I'm not going to get triggered. It doesn't mean things aren't going to happen that bring up old wounds from the past. Like, this is definitely bringing up feelings of abandonment, because I have felt abandoned by certain people in my life, especially in childhood and early adulthood and after my father passed. And this is definitely bringing up those feelings of, like, that I had back then. Am I unworthy? Am I unlovable? What's wrong with me? That sort of thing. And I have to then talk back to those thoughts and say, nothing is wrong with you, baby. Nothing. It's just a limitation of theirs. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. I could have maybe things that I need to work on, and if those are expressed to me, I'm happy to work on those things. But when nothing is communicated with me, I don't know where to go from there. It's just holding space and compassion for myself right now as I'm being triggered. Also holding space and compassion for her and whatever she's going through. So the next time that you're triggered, I want you to try this. I want you to try and locate in your body, first of all, where am I feeling this trigger? Is it in my belly? Is it in my chest? Like a lot of times when we're triggered, the body tenses in certain areas. Okay, so where are we first feeling that? It's very, very common for us to mostly feel it in the chest or in the stomach area, especially anxiety. I feel like anxiety lives in the belly. So when I'm feeling anxious, I'll try and locate where that tension is in the body, and then I'll place my hand on that area, whether it's my heart or my stomach. And then I just sit in that and I try and breathe through it. Almost imagining the breath like an energy flowing into that spot that's holding tension, and then as I exhale, allowing that tension to release. I almost like to picture it like a fog or a smoke exiting the body. And then the next thing that I do is I ask myself, how are you feeling in this moment? What is coming up for you in this moment? And just allowing whatever comes up to be there without judgment. And then I ask myself, what is it that you need in this moment? And sometimes it's to cry, or to scream into a pillow, or to journal, or to go and talk to another friend. Whatever it is, giving that to myself. It's gentle parenting ourself. It's asking, what do you need and how can I give that to you? Whether it's a warm cup of tea, a hug from somebody, whatever it is, working to give yourself that. Then after that, I'll try and do something somatic to release the energy from my body, whether that's dancing or just shaking out my body or doing yoga or going outside or doing deep breathing, something to try and disperse that energy that I'm holding on to so it doesn't get stuck in the body. And then sometimes afterwards, I'll try and engage in deliberate journaling to try and dive into this a little bit deeper because I know the healing powers of journaling. So I wanted to offer some journaling prompts to you in case this is helpful. So first, what do I make it mean about myself when I'm triggered? So this starts to open the door to the shadow. Like we can have thoughts about ourselves when we're triggered, like I'm a bad person, I'm unhealed, I'm unlovable, whatever it is. Most of the time those thoughts are false. Please keep that in mind. But it's diving into, what do I make this mean about myself when I'm triggered? Because I'm human, I'm allowed to be triggered, but am I placing meaning on it? Here's the next journaling prompt. What version of me is asking for attention or love in this moment? This encourages inner child healing and recognizing past wounds to begin to try and heal those things. Here's another one. When I feel reactive or triggered, what am I really needing in that moment? This invites self-inquiry and to look at unmet needs that might be present. Maybe it's that you need more love or more encouragement. All of those things are okay. All of those things are okay to want for yourself. And lastly, if I met my triggered self with kindness, what would I say? This is again that reparenting angle. And I almost like to look at it as if my best friend was in front of me and she was dealing with this same thing or this same trigger, what would I say to her? And then saying those things to yourself. So the moral of the story is you are going to be triggered, probably through the rest of your life, but that's okay. The triggers are going to become less often and much less reactive. But every time that you're triggered, trying to investigate that trigger. What is causing this? Where did this first come from? Why am I feeling this way? What can I do to help myself in this moment? And then go from there. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you want to go deeper on your healing journey, there are so many different ways to connect. My book, Don't You Dare, is available for purchase on Amazon. If you'd like to dive into the ego voice and shadow work, I feel like this is a beautiful tool for that. I also have my Most Loved Meditation bundle available for purchase. These are my highest rated meditations over the years. And everything I'm talking about now is going to be linked below in the show description notes. I also have a new course called the Affirmation Reset course. This helps us to rewire negative and limiting beliefs. As well, I offer one-on-one coaching and hypnotherapy services. If you're interested in a session with me, please visit my website, meganshirey.com, meganshirey.com. You can also join us on Patreon for exclusive meditations, behind-the-scenes reflections, and a soft healing community space. And again, if you're interested in any of these, they will be linked below in the show description notes. If you enjoy these episodes, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and please leave us a review. It helps us to reach more listeners. May you be happy, may you be well, may you be joyous and at ease, sending you infinite love and light, and until next time.